A full flowering of the medieval concept of world order was envisioned only briefly with the rise of the 16th century Habsburg Prince Charles, 1500–1558. His rule also ushered in its irrevocable decay. The stern and pious Flemish-born prince was born to rule. Except for a widely noted taste for spiced food, he was generally perceived to be without vices and immune to distraction. He inherited the crown of the Netherlands as a child, and that of Spain, with its vast and expanding array of colonies in Asia and the Americas, at 16. Shortly after, in 1519, he prevailed in the election for the post of Holy Roman Emperor, making him Charlemagne's formal successor. The coincidence of these titles meant that the medieval vision seemed poised to be fulfilled. A single pious ruler now governed territories approximately equivalent to today's Austria, Germany, Northern Italy, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Eastern France, Belgium, Netherlands, Spain, and much of the Americas. This massive agglomeration of political power was accomplished almost entirely through strategic marriages and gave rise to the Habsburg saying, "Bella gerant ali, tu Felix Austria nube." Leave the waging of wars to others. You, happy Austria, marry. Spanish explorers and conquistadores, Magellan and Cortez, sailed under Charles's auspices, were in the process of destroying the ancient empires of the Americas and carrying the sacraments together with European political power across the New World. Charles's armies and navies were engaged in the defense of Christendom against a new wave of invasions by the Ottoman Turks and their surrogates in southeastern Europe and North Africa. Charles personally led a counterattack in Tunisia with a fleet funded by gold from the New World. Caught up in these heady developments, Charles was hailed by his contemporaries as the greatest emperor since the division of the empire in 843, destined to return the world to a single shepherd. In the tradition of Charlemagne, at his coronation, Charles vowed to be the protector and defender of the Holy Roman Church, and crowds paid him obeisance as Cesare and Imperio. Pope Clement affirmed Charles as the temporal force foreseeing peace and order re-established in Christendom. A Chinese or Turkish visitor to Europe at that time might well have perceived a seemingly familiar political system, a continent presided over by a single dynasty imbued with a sense of divine mandate. If Charles had been able to consolidate his authority and manage an orderly succession in the vast Habsburg territorial conglomerate, Europe would have been shaped by a dominant central authority like the Chinese Empire or the Islamic Caliphate. It did not happen, nor did Charles try. In the end, he was satisfied to base order on equilibrium. Hegemony might be his inheritance, but not his objective, as he proved when, after capturing his temporal political rival, the French king Francis I, in the Battle of Pavia in 1525, he released him, freeing France to resume a separate and adversarial foreign policy at the heart of Europe. The French king repudiated Charles's grand gesture by taking the remarkable step, so at odds with the medieval concept of Christian statecraft, of proposing military cooperation to the Ottoman Sultan Suleiman, who was then invading Eastern Europe and challenging Habsburg power from the east. The universality of the Church Charles sought to vindicate was not to be had. He proved unable to prevent the new doctrine of Protestantism from spreading through the lands that were the principal base of his power. Both religious and political unity were fracturing. The effort to fulfill his aspirations inherent in his office was beyond the capabilities of a single individual. A haunting portrait by Tizian from 1548 at Munich's Alte Pinakothek reveals the torment of an eminence who cannot reach spiritual fulfillment or manipulate the, to him, ultimately secondary levers of hegemonic rule. Charles resolved to abdicate his dynastic titles and divide his vast empire, and did so in a manner reflecting the pluralism that had defeated his quest for unity. To his son Philip, he bequeathed the kingdom of Naples and Sicily, then the crown of Spain and its global empire. In an emotional 1555 ceremony in Brussels, he reviewed the record of his reign, attested to the diligence with which he had fulfilled his duties, and in the process handed the States General of the Netherlands to Philip as well. The same year, Charles concluded a landmark treaty, the Peace of Augsburg, which recognized Protestantism within the Holy Roman Empire. Abandoning the spiritual foundation of his empire, Charles afforded princes the right to choose the confessional orientation of their territory. Shortly afterwards, he resigned his title as Holy Roman Emperor, passing responsibility for the empire, its upheavals, and its external challenges to his brother Ferdinand. Charles retired to a monastery in a rural region of Spain to a life of seclusion. He spent his last days in the company of his confessor and of an Italian clockmaker, whose works lined the walls and whose trade Charles attempted to learn. When Charles died in 1558, his will expressed regret for the fracturing of doctrine that had taken place during his reign and charged his son to redouble the Inquisition.